Wait till you finish the second plate to start channeling. I will kill the third plate while this has its 10-second wind up. All right. And now we go and we're able to kill the turret completely. What's up, Giga Gamers? Welcome to the Strat Chat, my Surrealists. Today we're going to be looking at the evolution of Rift Herald and what to do with it now. Is it better than Dragon? What should you do in your games? Let's check it out. Alright, so in the beginning, Season 6, in the preseason, it was introduced at the end of Season 5. Rift Herald was added, but largely ignored. It was nothing like what it is now. It gave a local buff to the person who killed it, giving Doom's Eve and then Glimpse of the Void. A couple abilities that empowered you, basically gave you your own personal Baron buff. But this didn't last long. It wasn't very popular. So eventually they started changing the dynamics. Patch 7.9 is the beginning of Rift Herald as we know it. All right, the new design came in. It changed to the Eye of the Herald that you could crush, that you could use to be an ally in your lane and share your gold. So everything that you know about Rift Herald came through in patch 7.9. The issue at that point and why it was still ignored was that turret plates had not yet come out. So if you wanted to make use of your Rift Herald, you had to find a way to gank a lane, change the form of what was going on, and then stick around long enough for the turret push to be worth it. And honestly, it often wasn't. It was very hard to make use of, and that's why it was largely ignored still. Season 9, turret plating changes the game, all right? The base health of the turrets goes up. It gets marked into intervals of 1,000 health. A lot of people don't know about this ability, the passive Bulwark, which is when plates are taken away, the defense of the turret will go up, and it goes up based on the amount of champions that were nearby. All right, so if you had 3 champions pushing a turret, it would actually take longer than just having one because the bulwarks would add all the extra defenses. However, Eye of the Herald, when crushed, deals true damage, and the damage went up to about 2,000 damage. So, when you were taking plates, when you have the Eye of the Herald, you could basically guarantee yourself 320 gold, or essentially 3 waves worth of gold, or a kill's worth of gold. So this becomes a very valuable tool in low gold games, which is most pro games where they're not killing each other as much, they're not fighting as much. There's a lot of opportunities for extra gold infusion, but no one takes advantage of it until summer of season 9. All right, and this is when we went out to Los Angeles, tried to tell everybody about it. Only Clutch would listen, and Clutch went from 4 and 6 on to make the world championship and qualify through group stages, and basically changed the entire world's meta. All right, the scripted play at that point, Rift Herald would spawn at 10 minutes. 8:30 is when a cannon reaches your wave. All right. And we all know that using the cannons to create recall timers is a good way of putting extra health in the wave so that you can get a better timer without being punished as much. So here's the original play. The 8:30 cannon is a free recall. So at 8 minutes, you come back, you push your wave, you recall, and you bring the bot lane up top. And you do this with the jungler, and the idea is that you're going to try to create numbers advantages here. Top laner will sub in bottom and hold bot with their level advantage. At 8:30 is just when bot lane is hitting level 6. So if you do it before 8:30, you can actually get your top laner at level 6 to fight against 2 level 5s. And actually, they might be at level 7. You can actually win that 1v2. And over here, you're playing on a 4 versus 2 or 4 versus 3 map. What you want to do is push the waves, get the priority. The 9:30 wave is right before your 10-minute cannon. So you're looking to double stack your 9:30 wave. When the cannon shows up with the numbers you push in the whole wave, you get priority in 3 different places. Top and mid means that you get free priority in the river. The support and jungle will come over, get some deep wards. You take the Herald, you give it to the AD carry, who puts it in their lane, drops it on the turret, and because you have your numbers advantages, you might even be able to get a whole first turret off of it. The entire world's metagame shifted. You start seeing Jhin and you start seeing Ashe because those are marksmen that can actually halfway roam over and still have an effect on that Rift Herald fight. You start seeing seeing adaptations. So as the game continued, you get more and more adaptations going on. First, one was don't just pick up the eye, right? Let someone who needs the gold pick up the eye. Sometimes it was the AD carry, sometimes it was your jungler, because at that point junglers were exceptionally strong. So giving them an early infusion of gold might be the right way to get yourself ahead in the game. People learn to crush the eye earlier. Sometimes you might take your recall, but honestly, that moment when you have numbers in the top lane is when you should be using it. You should force a play up in the top. People learned that because of the bulwarks that we mentioned, you want to chop off the first 3 plates, then the Herald charges to take away the last 2. That's a good way to combat the extra defenses that come up from the bulwarks. Games started being decided pre 30 minutes. You saw the rise and prominence of Renekton in Italy because no one had time to let other carries manifest. In the bot lane, the hyper-scaling marksmen completely fall off, and you start seeing Ziggs, you start seeing Syndra, Karthus, and even some enchanters start making their way into bot lane, just so you can have this early game spike of a team, because there's no way that games are going past 28 minutes, which means your carries aren't getting 3 items. Now there was an adaptation against it, which was, okay, if you want to rotate people over, we'll leave our marksman in the bot lane, hopefully solo, to have 1 versus 0. Since this play takes about 1.5 minutes, we're talking about 3 waves, and if they stack their waves correctly, they can actually get 3 plates for themselves. And suddenly that becomes a better net play than the team that got the Rift Herald, assuming they don't get any dives with it. If no one else dies, then the AD carry who is alone is actually the biggest winner of the whole play. But the answer to this should be you rotate your top laner down, and then teleport is still available to be able to rejoin the fight. So you start seeing this metagame coming up. Who's going to do what? Head fakes. Who's going to commit how many people to Rift Herald? And the entire game becomes about the Rift Herald. Season 12, everything changed again now that teleport is not online until 14 minutes. You can only teleport to structures, right? So all of these plays that involve a pre-14 Herald, which you want it pre-14 because of the plates, suddenly your teleporters don't have these adaptations. So what can you do? Well, the truth is the very best play that top laners can do that still doesn't get used is when you recall, you should run bottom and make a 4 versus 2 play as a team, and then teleport back up to your top lane. That is still something that is unexplored. Try it in your games. You'll have great success with it, especially if you have an engager from that position. But the other big changes that have come from patch 12.14 now is that the dragon buffs are increased in power by 50%. The Rift Herald now grants 200 gold to the Slayer, and importantly, the second summoned Herald gains 75% HP. All right, this is important because the second Herald doesn't have a plate value, right? The second Herald needs to be pressure in a lane, and now that you've nearly doubled its hit points, it means that you have more time in the game to be able to attack the Rift. Dragons being buffed means that it's easy for a lot of people to appreciate more power of dragons. It was true for 3 years that dragon was essentially worthless. You did not need to take dragons. There was no way, if you played the Rift Herald correctly and got enough gold, there's no way that they can contest you being down 4,000 gold in the mid game. Even if they had gotten 2 dragons, it just was not going to be compensation enough. Now those dragons are stronger, but they do take longer to take. So what's the payoff? What is the right call? All right. The truth is, in your unorganized games, your solo queue games, it is going to be very hard to guarantee yourself this second Herald. But if you get second Herald, you should be very greedy with it because it has so much health now that you can create an enormous amount of pressure in side lanes. It's now big enough to push through multiple enemy waves by itself. And so you can, for example, at 20 minutes, drop it bottom and then go push Baron. Or if you get Baron and you have the second Herald, now you have this monstrously large projectile for their turrets. The Eye will still take max health base damage, all right, percent base damage. So you do want to protect that. But you can create much more pressure with this extra sized Herald. Most times what's going to happen is you're going to grab the Herald, rotate over, drop it mid, and then come and contest Dragon. And they're faced with losing 2 turrets or losing Dragon, right? And if they stay for the dragon and you just do a little face off and you cut off their ability to rotate back to their turret or come off here, you say, we're going to hold this area and not let you rotate back, then suddenly that Rift Herald is big enough to take 2 turrets, which again has increased its value. So in organized play where you can manufacture these tempo plays, the Herald has gained even more importance because the dragons do take longer to take. The Herald is still easy, and in fact, champions like a Mumu just race through it. Very easy to take this, and in your organized games, you can make plays. But in solo queue games, the first one, drop it early and get your gold, and then that's probably the last one that you think of. If you happen to get the second one, great. But in that time, you might have teammates that are saying, hey, we have to go to the dragon pit. All right, so when you're looking at the turret plates, all right, they get increased defenses as each plate goes down based on not just the number of plates missing, but also the number of champions that were nearby as they were taken. So when you come and you do get this Rift Herald, use it early. That's because your gold in the early game is much more valuable than gold in the late game. Every time that you level up, it's like you're getting another Dorn's Blade. So imagine getting a Dorn's Blade at level 6 compared to getting a Dorn's Blade at level 9. Suddenly it's like you have 16% more stats than them just because you have that extra access to gold earlier than they do, right? So every time that you want to use it right away. The proper usage, all right, when you're going after these, you make a play in the top lane. Let's say you get Rift Herald and you're making a play top. What you want to do after you force their back, you punch down the first plate, punch down the second, then you summon the Herald while you attack the third, and then the Herald will charge and it will always deal at least 2,000 damage to get you the rest. This enormous spike of gold is enough to take your jungler and your top laner and snowball your games from here. It's important to find good rotations. Use your gold proactively, right? Don't just sit on a gold lead. You both have access to 800 extra gold. You want to go flex it as early as you can in the game. All right, so we're going to talk about some optimal ways of taking Rift Herald. First off, when we're talking about your red wards, there's a little ring right here. And if you look at the dragon pit, you can really see these pronounced things. You want to be in the second ring when you're casting your ward. All right, so you want to be here. That way it doesn't get bumped out. You don't want it on the outer ring because then it doesn't actually see the opposite side. Now, the Eye of the Herald is going to spawn and it's going to deal % max health damage. So something you can do with a Mumu and really every other champion is you just get behind. You can always hit the eye as it's charging here. And if you move clockwise, the Herald always does its uppercut from its right to its left. Alright, so if you're always dodging around it like this, you can see all the extra damage that you're getting from eye pops. One thing you want to do, if you suppose that the enemy is going to come, the eye will never spawn, alright, when it's below 1500 health. You can make the cooldown come faster by auto-attacking, but by waiting till you're close to 1,000 health to hit the eye, then you can guarantee yourself the extra damage. Alright, so you can see this guy right here, walking, if you are sharing any amount of border with this, it will reveal you, but this second one does not. And in fact, I can place more bad guys around here, and you still won't see any of them, alright? Now you see none of them. This is because there's actually a path in for you to take over on this side. Now you cannot do it on the other side. The map is asymmetrical. All right, it's not perfectly symmetrical. On this side, the shrine will reveal you, but on this side it doesn't. So you can actually sneak into this pit either by using abilities like Bandage Toss, or you can do it by walking over here. Now, once you have the Herald, what you want to look for is stacked waves. All right, so we're going to come teleport up here. We're just going to push this as hard as we can, because right now there's another wave coming right behind us. And if we can kill this wave, now we've got 2 waves coming up. We're going to deal as much damage to this turret as we can. Notice the turret's defenses has 15 armor, all right? As we hit it, it goes up to 50. Now, 50 is temporary. It's got a base plus a bonus. This is because nearby, 1 champion was there. If 3 champions had done it, it would have been even more damage. Alright, now with 2 champions, it would have been a little bit easier. I'm going to start summoning the Herald. Basically, only so that it has something else to target. Now, in this case, you're going to see, look at these defenses, 155. It's impossible for me to go take this now. So it's very important that your Rift Herald takes out the last 2 plates. You see what it was like, me casting the Herald before I was ready. All right, so if I wait now, and you actually wait till you finish the second plate to start channeling, I will kill the third plate while this has its 10-second wind up. All right, and now we go and we're able to kill the turret completely. Okay, you'll notice that the Herald loses a large chunk of its health, but it's going to keep on pushing. So we have an opportunity to go. A lot of times you want to go and get the next wave down just so you get another charge in, because the Rift Herald will be good for another hit right here. Kaboom. And then the Rift Herald will always be the first one to take damage. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps the channel out a lot. I'll catch you guys next time. Keep it surreal. Peace.